at all. Asking girls, has anyone ever treated you differently because of your gender, your race, your socioeconomic status? What did it feel like? And we don't ask those questions, and I think those are really important questions that we really need to do. We need to also teach girls and young women strategies. How do you deal with it? What do you do if somebody interrupts you? There are things you can do, and we can talk about that later. What do you do if you're not called upon in a class and you really are raising your hand and no one's calling on you? There are strategies for that, and we can teach them strategies, and you can actually, when you give girls an example, they can come up also with strategies on their own. We have learned that the chilly climate is rampant, and that the climate, especially in some STEM education and work environments, and I'm talking beyond your environments that you're with, but in the real world environment, it's not always very, very comfortable there at all. And girls and young women need to know about this and to prepare to deal with it. I've lost my last page, excuse me. Okay. One other thing I want to raise, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I think it's terribly important. Sexual harassment and bullying are quite common among all children. Girls are bullied, girls are sexually harassed. It's becoming much more of an issue. Lots of times people are mixed up over which is which. If it's sexual or it's done on the basis of gender, it could still be bullying, but it's also sexual harassment, which is against Title IX. Title IX protects, it insists that schools that receive federal monies, and some of you don't, but if you receive federal monies, the school has to respond to it. So we have learned that the chilly climate is really important, and there is very much that we need to do about it. I'm used to speaking at a lectern. This is why I'm having trouble with my pages here. I've lost, the ending. Okay. We need specific strategies to empower girls and young women to learn about girls and women's lives and to recognize and respond to subtle and overt behaviors. Girls and women are indeed strong, and it's our job to make them stronger. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks to both of you. I'm going to ask a couple of questions to get the ball rolling, but we do have someone who's going to be walking around with a microphone. And if you have a question, just indicate to her, and I will periodically look out there and ask if anybody has questions, and that's when you say me. But this has been absolutely fascinating because both of the things that you two are involved in is building girls' self-esteem, empowering them, these very broad general terms in society at large, but it really impacts specifically girls in math and science. That those are very male-dominated fields, as you pointed out. There's a pipeline problem, and it happened to me, and it happened probably to a lot of people in this room. They get pushed out around 6th grade, junior high. So I think I'd like to start with asking you a little bit about why that happens and how we can keep that from happening. What are some of the strategies that we might be able to employ, either on a personal, parent level or on an institutional level? And of course, Ruth, Bernice, you should feel perfectly happy to jump in.
Well, I think that we all know that parents and teachers are the most critical role models and influences in girls' lives. And I think it's interesting how early on we sometimes fail our girls ourselves by stereotyping them into roles as parents and as teachers. Because there are so many ways that we influence their patterns, whether it's the books we choose to give them, the toys we choose for them to play with, our attitudes towards their behavior when it's a girl doing something or a boy doing something. All of these things change how girls choose and perceive what they're going to do. And when girls express an interest in something, it is really very important, particularly around things like STEM, for our parents and teachers to be especially supportive and especially encouraging. For every time a teacher can tell a girl you can do something, there are so many other influences in the world telling her that she can't. So the louder our voices are, the more likely she is to succeed. And This goes right to the heart of same-sex education and same-sex after-school programs and the kind of environment we created at the Girl Scouts and that you all create here. Study after study has shown that girls do perform better in all-girl environments. There was a study that showed that single-sex education was particularly beneficial to girls. In one study that was done, 100 8th graders, which is exactly the group that you're talking about, Jennifer, were separated, 100 girls were separated from the rest of the 8th grade. These girls immediately began to achieve more, become more confident, and participate more often in class. One of the statistics that I came across as I was doing this research was that in a science class, when a demonstration is being done, 79% of the time the teacher will pick a boy to assist her in the demonstration. That is huge. That it sends such a clear and painful message to the girls about what they can do. And yet in all girls schools, girls can assume a position of leadership. The materials they're reading are full of things that illustrate to them what women can achieve. And we also found that students, girl students, are much more likely to continue in math and science and athletics, by the way, when they are in an all-girl environment. And we see this with our girls all the time in Girl Scouting, the fact that they can be whomever they want to be, that they don't have to be the smartest and they don't have to be the prettiest, and they can just identify with their own potential without the pressures that are involved in a co-ed environment. Makes such a difference in seeing these girls achieve. So I think that what we really need to do is be very aware, both as parents, as teachers, as members of the community, as anyone who interacts with children, of what we are consciously or unconsciously saying to our girls about where their limitations are or are not. I think it's really critical.
All right. Do you have anything?
Yeah, one of the things that we need to do as a society is to get rid of the chilly climate in co-ed classes as well. Well, I just want to give one strategy because I've been doing just a lot of thinking about this. I asked myself, if there was one strategy that I would pick for everybody, what would it be? And I want to talk about praise because we all know it's important to praise children, but we very often say good work or good job or something, and we really need to be much more specific. That was very good work. I really liked the way you organized your thoughts. Or you really put a lot of work into this and it shows. Or you did a good job of whatever. But to be as precise as possible, I think is much more helpful than just saying you did good work or I like the way you did it. I like that you handed your paper in on time. I mean, that you can always find something. I like that you used your computer instead of writing in your handwriting. But to give praise when it's due, but to be as specific as possible. I have started on a little campaign of praising people I come across in anonymous situations like clerks or cashiers or whatnot, or a tech person on his phone, and giving them feedback about what they did very well. And it's been a very interesting and very pleasant experience to do.
Do we have questions from out in the audience? We have a microphone waiting for you. I'm sure some people have questions. Yes, up there. Would you keep your hand raised?
Hi, my question is about the chilly climate. I'm wondering, with the increasing use of technology, how do you see that impacting the environment for girls going forward, either negatively or positively?
Yeah. I think two things are happening. It's making it better and it's making it worse. It depends what you look at. What I hear from teachers who are using emails to supplement the teaching situation, that this has been helpful to a lot of people who are shy, and there are more of those of girls who are female than male. So that certainly is an example where it can be helpful. And those of you that teach know that every now and then there's someone who's never raised a hand in class and suddenly shines on a test, and you're surprised that this person even has a brain because you haven't seen any evidence of it. And I think email and email assignments, and that can be very, very helpful at times. On the other hand, there's a tremendous amount of sexuality and peer sexual harassment and sexting in middle school and high school and so forth, which has no positive benefits that I've yet been to ascertain to. But I think the technology can be helpful, but the access to pornography, which is very easy even for moderately young children, middle school children, to find it if they want to look for it and know about it. So it's a mixed bag, but I think we have it. We have to figure out ways to help girls and boys use the technology in positive ways.
You want to comment? Or?
No, I think
Okay.
that's great.
I'm going to turn to Ruth here for a moment because, I mean, learning is a very, very individual thing, and what appeals to one student might not appeal to another. So a big challenge, of course, is how do you institutionalize broad-based change? And I know that the Massachusetts STEM Council is kind of emerging as a useful model in this respect. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about what some of the specific practices and strategies are that you're finding are really working in terms of change across the board at a very, very high level.
I think that Massachusetts clearly is setting up a model that will be very useful across the country, and I think kudos go to the governor and lieutenant governor for these efforts. We have just completed the first ever long-term STEM plan for the state of Massachusetts called the Foundation for the Future, Massachusetts Plan for Excellence in STEM Education. The plan itself has 5 goals: to increase student interest in STEM, to increase the percentage of students who score proficient or better on AP exams in math and science, to increase the positions of the number of students who are actually prepared to enter college in those fields, to double the number of bachelor degrees in STEM majors earned by students by the year 2016, and to increase the number and percentage of great, passionate STEM educators throughout the state. And the plan is very interesting because we're starting to operationalize it now. So there are going to be regional STEM councils across the state who will be collaborating with public and private schools K through 12, with readiness centers, with higher education institutions, businesses, industries, and nonprofit organizations to align all of these organizations around STEM and to do better at utilizing the resources. I think one of the things that I always find very striking in the nonprofit world particularly, but is the idea that we don't collaborate enough, that we're all doing such great things, and yet instead of using those resources and collaborating effectively, we end up trying to reinvent the wheel. And with resources as scarce as they are today, collaboration could be a genuine source of more interesting programs, better use of them, more outreach. The goal of this plan is to increase scalability of the programs that are really working across the state, and to increase sustainability of the programs. And with some race to the top money that Massachusetts has got